Hi there, and welcome to Dynamic Duck RC. In this video, I'm going to convert this 500mm hand glider into a remote-controlled airplane. So let's get started. First, I make a sketch to form a rough idea. And this is how it's going to look. In black, you can see this stock model, and in green, you see the adjustments I'm going to make. Here I have some electronics that I had lying around. I've got an 1806 2400 kV brushless outrunner, combined with a 5030 prop that will provide the propulsion. This motor will be hooked up on a 12 amp ESC. To operate the control surfaces, I have 4 pieces 3.7 gram micro servos. I use a Redcon DSMX receiver for the communication with my transmitter. Let's put the electronics aside for a moment and take a look at the drawing once more. I'll start with the wing. The wing will have ailerons for bank control. The ailerons are operated by the servos, which in turn are connected to each other with this Y cable. Now, let's make some working control surfaces and room for the servos and cables. To hinge the control surfaces, I used this poster board. Now the wing is done so far. Let's take a look at the fuselage. The drawing shows that I have to craft a piece on top of the fuselage. For that, I got this piece of jacketer or XPS foam. And to make room for the prop, the tail has to be thinned out. This will cause the tail to lose its stiffness. To solve that, I'm using this carbon spar that will be placed in the tail section. So let's get going. That is already starting to take shape. Let's already put a line on the tail. Before I cut this off, it is wise to strengthen the tail first and find a place for the servos and push rods for operating the rudder and elevator. I got 0.8mm steel wire and these hollow tubes. That will function as push rods. One will go to the rudder, and the one for elevator control will go through the carbon spar. Cover some things with a piece of D-Pron, and then I'm going to make the control surfaces for the tail. Now that's done. The tail can be thinned out. And to make room for the electronics, I have to partially hollow out the piece of XPS foam. The wing can now be definitively glued on. Now I can glue the XPS foam to the fuselage. No glue under the canopy, because that's going to be the hatch. Now giving things a little more shape. To secure the hatch, I glue this piece of plastic under the front, and these small magnets will keep the hatch in place. This will be the power supply. a 2S1000 milliamp LiPo battery. We gotta make sure that will fit in. Now the plane's modifications are done so far. It is time to get this thing another paint job. Spray painting is the easiest, but spray paint contains solvents. Solvents usually harm foam. So let's do a test. I throw a piece of airplane foam and a piece of XPS in acetone, and you see, the XPS melts away completely. Strangely enough, the acetone does not damage the aircraft foam at all. The aircraft can therefore be sprayed, but the added foam pieces must be provided with a protective layer of acrylic paint. When this is dry, we can start spray painting. I think this looks much nicer. Now it's time to install the electronics. Mounting the push rods on the control surfaces, and the plane is done. I use a piece of polystyrene from which I cut control horns, drill a hole in them, and glue them into place. Now that everything is connected, it's time to test things out. Adding the prop, and the plane is finished. Everything works, so I think we are ready to get outside for the maiden flight. The Sparrow, this conversion is a success. flies well. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing to stay tuned for my latest creations. For now, thanks for watching. Until the next one.